open up Chrome. And so here's what I love doing. I went through and typed in, because I love just AI. And I'm like, all right, what can we learn from AI? I know this isn't a class about AI or a webinar on that, but I was like, what are the topics? So what are the key things to learn in Bluebeam Revu? You can do it on your own as well. And let's see what AI says. And this literally is what we're going to do today. So the key areas, according to AI, to master Bluebeam Revu is the interface, the markup tools, and you know what's interesting, and understanding Studio. So really, it's so weird. When I did this moments ago, it said measuring, markups, and collaborating, just to show you that it just kind of always changes. But I want to show you those key things of mastering the interface, measurements, markups, and collaborating. So first, here's Bluebeam Revu on my screen over here. And the very first thing that I want to do before starting a set of drawings is setting this up for success. Before we start doing measurements and markups and collaborating, which is all the three key things that you want to do, we need to set up Revu. So go in the top left-hand corner to Review and then go to Preferences. All right. Under Preferences, we're going to change just two things so that your Bluebeam Revu works flawlessly. Now, the first thing is under the General tab, Options, take a look at your username. Now, why am I bringing this up? Is because every time we create a markup, it's going to have your username, your computer name, as the author of who created that markup. So what you want to do is, you'll notice my computer's name is computer KL67. Yay! Change it to your name, right? Don't put Rick Kramer, put your name and the name of the company you work for. Because if you're sharing this PDF with someone outside of your office, they can see who made that markup. And then they can say, oh, this was Rick from Graitec versus Sam at Acme Company or whatever it may be. Change it here under General. This will stay inside of Revu forever until you reinstall Revu. Next, Interface. Markups list. In the markups list, make sure to select Zoom Fit Markups when selected and place a check mark. Why? Because once you start creating markups on your set of documents, if you click on a markup in the markups list at the bottom, it'll zoom not just to the page, but it'll zoom right to the markup. If this is turned off, when you click on a markup in the markups list, it'll just go to the page. And then you got to do like, where in the heck is this markup inside of the page? Click Zoom to Fit, and it'll go and zoom right to that markup. So those are two things that you can do. All right, who's ready to get started? I'm going to open up a drawing over here that I have a sample of, and here it is. So let's talk about this drawing. First things first, I'm going to go over here to my thumbnails. And by the way, I'm using Bluebeam Revu, the complete edition, but what I'm about to do, you should be able to do in all of the editions. First things first, you'll notice over here, it says floor plan, roof plan, all the sheet names themselves. But let's say I wanted to go through and include the sheet number, right? Like I need sheet numbers and names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and create page labels on a page region. So I'm going to set up my set of drawings so I can easily navigate them. I'm going to go to page region, click select, and then I'm going to window around the page number. It's going to preview and say, all right, this is what it's going to look for. But I also want to include the name of the sheet. So I'm going to come over here and put a dash and a space and add another field and add this. Now, by the way, I'm not going to keep it right here in case it's 2 lines. So I'm going to leave it like right there in case there's 2 lines and hit OK. I'm going to apply this to all pages. And there we go. And now in our thumbnails, we have all of our sheet numbers and names. Now, this is just a 8-page document, but what happens if you have like 100 pages? Let me introduce you to my little friend, bookmarks. Over here, when you open up bookmarks, oh, let me get rid of these real quick. Don't look, don't look, don't look. All right. So bookmarks is an easy way to index all of your drawings, especially if you have hundreds of sheets and you want to be able to navigate your set really, really easily. Here, what I'll do is I'll simply click on Create Bookmarks and use the page labels to create my bookmarks. There they are. Now, this is just a simple 8 set of drawings, but imagine if you had 50 or 100 drawings. Now you can easily just navigate these drawings, and these bookmarks are now stored inside of the PDF. All right, so next, how do we start to go through, and first things first, measuring, right? So let's go through and see how we can measure. Now, what is this? Does anyone know what this is? This is a scale, right? So back in the day, way back when, right, you'd print out a set of drawings and you would look on the bottom of the drawing to see what scale it was so you could start to measure the drawings. In Bluebeam, we need to establish the scale of the drawing. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And if you take a look at this drawing over here, oh, you know what? Let me open up a different one. Boom. Let me open up one that is just, doesn't have any scale. Scale not set. This is the same drawing, by the way, just reprinted. So I basically got rid of the scale. Most of the times when you get a set of drawings, it will not be to the correct scale. In other words, when I get this drawing, if I want to do a measurement of a length or an area, I need to set the scale of the page. In order to do that, there's a couple different ways of setting the scale. If I know all of these drawings, for example, are printed at the same time, I can select them all. And I did that by holding Control and selecting them all and then right-clicking and setting the scale. Now, before I set the scale, let's hit Escape and zoom in. When I look at a particular drawing, I want to see if it's been printed to scale. In other words, is there a little marker here that says it's 1/8 of an inch, 1 to 40, 1 to 50, whatever it may be. This drawing is awful. It doesn't have it, but what it does have is a dimension here to here. The grid lines are 30 feet apart. So what I can do is I can establish the scale of these drawings according to a dimension from point A to point B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my thumbnails. I'm going to hold Control and select all of these sheets because they appear to be printed at the same time, so they're all the same scale, theoretically. Over here, I'll right-click on one of them and set the scale. When I do that, it's selected those 6 sheets, and if I knew that this was printed at a certain preset, I could go through and said, these are at 1/8 of an inch, but I don't know if they are or not, so I'm going to select Custom and then click on Calibrate. So this is going to ask me to pick 2 points. I'm going to click OK and basically go from grid line to grid line and tell it that that distance equals 30 feet. And I knew that because the previous drawing showed my grid lines to be 30 feet apart. And I'll round it up to a full inch and hit apply. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spot check some dimensions over here to make sure everything is cool. Over here, I'll go to measure length. And let's go ahead and just drop in a dimension or 2. I'm going to go from here. Whoops, let's try that again. Tools, measure length. From here to here, 30 feet. Awesome. Let's go to this one. I'll go to this one over here, just a different sheet. Tools, measure length. And I'll go from here to here. Everything looks great. So this is all set and done. Now, by the way, here's those dimensions. I don't need them. They were just there for reference. All right. So how do we start to go through now and do some measurements? Let's talk about 2 different types of measurements. One is going to be an area measurement, and the other one is going to be linear measurements. To do an area measurement, I'm going to go over here to Tools, Measure, Area. To do an area measurement, all I simply have to do is find an area. I'll do this conference room, for example, and I'll click, and I'll click, and I'll drag this around for that conference room. And there it is. Now, over here, when I click on it, you'll see it says 648, but it's kind of hard to see. When clicking on a markup, I get the top properties bar. This is an awesome area to change the properties of what this looks like. So over here, I'll change the fill to yellow and make it highlightable. Awesome. Next, I'm going to move the text box that's right on top of conference. I'm going to hold shift and drag this down some. Easy peasy. Now, if I want to use this over and over again, guess what? Right click. And I'm going to add that to my tool chest. And I'm going to add this to my tools right over here. And there it is. So, but let's say for argument's sake that area represents a certain type of material. Right now it's generic. So before I add it to my tool chest, I'm going to right click, go to its properties, and over here, change the subject, you ready, to flooring. And I'm going to say this is supposed to be carpet 1. Now I have carpet 1, and there it is, label carpet 1. I'm going to right click on that and add that to my tool chest, and there it is. So now I have carpet 1. Now, let me show you a power move over here. If I want to add some additional spaces over here, my tools, if you notice, has numbers associated with all the markups. This is only in my tools, not any of the other tool sets. Drag this one that we just created. I'm going to drag it all the way up to the top to the number 1 position. This is a shortcut key. So I added a custom area. I'm going to place it over here under my tools. What I did is I dragged it over here to the top. And I placed it in the first position. Now, these numbers are shortcuts. So what I can do here is instead of going to my tools, I'm going to minimize this. And you ready? I'm going to hit escape. And guess what? Let's say this area right here is also carpet 1. All I have to do is press the number 1. And I'm now going to go through and add that same carpeted area like that. You'll notice I don't have a curve right here, so that's easy to fix. Just right click on it and convert to arc. I'm going to add another one right over here. What am I going to do? Hit number 1 and basically left click and drag. Now, I have all this different area of carpet. So if I look over here in my carpeting, here is, if I go through and associate everything by label, over here is a total of 1,046 square feet. But what if we had to cut some of that area out? A lot of times we add information, right? But maybe this conference room has this area right here that's cut out. Easy enough. Over here, we'll go to Tools, Measure, and instead of adding, we're going to go over here and do a cutout. There's 2 different ways of cutting it out. One's rectangular, the other one is circular in shape. I'm going to do a polygon cutout. Notice the size is 648. I'm going to just click and drag, and there it is. And I'll move this over here. So this is live information. And if I wanted to go through and create a schedule, right? So Revit users out there, you love schedules. I love schedules. I want one in Bluebeam, no problem. What I'm going to do is right click. I'm going to go through over here, window around these by right clicking and dragging, right click. And over here, I'm going to create a legend. And I'll go ahead and just place it right here. And there it is, flooring. When I go over here and change my properties, over here I can change this to space legend. And over here I'll change this to be label. So when I change the description to label, it's going to automatically show me all the things. And here's my total square footage. If for whatever reason this changes, right, I'll go through and add another one. And I'll just do from here to here. And it updates that information automatically. Isn't that cool? So you got a live schedule built in. All right, so that's just areas. How do we start to go through and do linear calculations? So let's go over to another sheet. I'm going to go over here and take a look at another sheet. So here's a plumbing drawing, right? I got lots of pipes over here, and let's say I have this sanitary drain, or there's an overflow drain, or chilled water or hot water. How do I go through and calculate the length of this? So again, what I'm going to do is go to Tools, Measure, and this time I'm going to do a poly length. So instead of doing an area, I'm going to do a poly length. This gives me an opportunity to have multiple lines. So I'll click poly length. And what I'm going to do first is just draw something up here. And the reason why is I'm going to customize this to make sure that it's the color for chilled water and maybe even have a label. So I'm going to right click, go to its properties, and over here it's generically called poly length measurement. Well, guess what? This is going to be chilled water. And the label is going to be CW. Here I can give it a unique color, and I did this before, so I changed it to blue, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of a line thickness of blue and make it highlightable. The reason why it's highlightable is that way it doesn't obscure the information underneath. On top of that, you'll notice that this particular piece of information, I wanted to show the caption, which will tell me the total length of the chilled water, but I don't want the segment values. Now, I know I'm going a mile a minute, and I apologize. This is kind of a teaser to show you what can be done in Bluebeam. If you're interested in learning more, I have classes that I teach all the time for individuals just like you on utilizing Bluebeam Revu and customizing it for your needs. So here's chilled water, just chill. I'm going to go over here and select it and add that to my tool chest, my tools. I'm going to move that over here to the number 2 position. So how do I start to go through and use that, you might say? Well, over here, I'll find my chilled water. It's number 2. Guess what? I'm going to minimize this. And because we're good, we're going to use that shortcut key of number 2. And then basically start to go through and trace this from here to here and follow chilled water all the way down and across. And it stopped somewhere, let's say, right here, for argument's sake, and then turns up. So I have 185 linear feet of chilled water, and if there's any T's off of this, all I have to do is hit number 2 again, and then go from here to here. And then hit number 2 again, and let's say it goes from here to here. When I select that and go back into my properties, here's chilled water, and there's my total length of 227 linear feet of chilled water. So it's awesome. If it's sanitary that we're doing instead of chilled water, or maybe there's a slope to it, we can select it. Go over here to measurements, and over here, give it a rise run. So if you have sanitary, of course, you want it sloping down, right? Chilled water, maybe not so much, but then again, wastewater, anything waste, you want it to roll downhill, so we can have a rise or run, and it'll recalculate the total length according to your rise and run. All right, so we did areas, we did linear calculations, and that's measurements. So how do we start to go through now and create additional markups? So the kind of markups that I might talk about over here is, let's say I want to go through and make a comment on one of these towards my electrical system, my mechanical, I should say. I'm going to go over here to markup, and one of my favorites is Cloud Plus. I'm generically going to place one out here and just say this is a mechanical comment. Now, I'm doing this because I'm going to customize this. Again, you see here, I'm using my tool set. I'm customizing my information so that in the markups list, I can now organize all the different things. In this case, my different discipline-oriented markups. So I'll select it, right-click, and this Cloud Plus, I'm going to change the subject. Now, if this is the first time you're using Bluebeam Revu, or you've been using it forever, you just go to Tools and Markup, and you drop in markups galore over here. You'll notice that the subject line over here in the markups list is generically called whatever it's called, right? So I did Cloud Plus. When I drop that into a PDF, it's generically called Cloud Plus. I want to go through and give it unique names and properties so I have different discipline-oriented markups. I'm going to change this one over here to mechanical comments. Over here, under appearance is how it appears. And I'll go over here and change the fill color to green and make it highlightable. It's important that you highlight it because if not, it obscures the information. Awesome. All right. I'm all set. Now from here, let's say I want to create another one for electrical. I'll just hold Control and drag that. So now I have two of them. It's like a magic trick. Let's select this one over here and I will go to its properties and this one here. Oh, you know what? It didn't take mech comments. And then I'll go to this one and this one is going to be electrical comments. Now you'll notice that it's already here because I typed it in before earlier and it remembered what I typed in. And the fill color for that will be blue. So this one here is going to be for electrical comments. And this one here is mechanical comments. I'm going to select both of these and then add them to my tools. Guess what? Here they are. I'm going to double click on them so they change into properties mode, and I'm going to put that under number 3 and under number 4. I think you kind of see where I'm going with this, where I'm going to be able to go through and make comments quickly. So let's take a look at our electrical comments. I'm going to go over here to an electrical sheet. Where's my electrical sheet? Over here. Oh, I forgot to do the page labels on those. No worries. And here's my electrical. And so I'm going to make comments. And what was the number for that? That was number 3. So over here, I'll just go ahead and minimize this and hit number 3 and start to make my comments. Need to verify info with Misty on outlet locations. Okay. So there's one right there. I'll do another one over here and I'll do a number 3 and say need more of these duplexes. And then I'll come over here and add need GFI and I'll copy that here. So I had 2 of them. Now, all of that information is here under electrical comments. Pretty darn cool. I'll turn on my comments, and here are my comments. And I'll just go ahead and move that there. So there's all my information. And if I wanted to add mechanical comments, I'll go back to my mechanical sheet. And over here, select my shortcut for mechanical, which is number 4. I'll go to number 4 and pick these. Verify placement height. Placement height. Awesome. Another nice, really cool tool that will help me. Let's say I'm trying to look for something and I want to identify it easily. I can use the search function. And over here, if I'm looking for everything that is an L1, for example, I can do a search over here and type in L1. And I'll do current page and do a search. And it finds them all. And here I'll just hit highlight. And now I have all my L1s listed, which is really nice because now they're listed here in the comments. So I can find them all kind of easily and quickly. If I want to do a count, I can easily do a count of these as well. And the nice thing about this is I can do a search for anything in the document and automatically find them by searching for text or visual searches. There's so much. So markups. Next, let's talk about collaborating, right? I want to keep this short. I could go for hours on this, but I want to kind of keep it short and keep everyone's attention. So creating markups, measuring is amazing, but how do we start to go through and collaborate with others so that we can work on this together? Built into Bluebeam Revu is what's called Bluebeam Studio. Studio is an online portal that allows us to store our documents so that we can collaborate and share. Let me show you how easy it is to put this into what's called a working session. I'm going to open up Studio. Each Bluebeam ID you receive the ability to go through and create Studio sessions. If you're using the core or complete in basics, you can collaborate, but you can't create new sessions or projects. Over here, I'm going to go through in sessions and click add and click new session. And over here, I'm going to call this review for all. And I'm going to add open files. Hit yes to update and save it. And there it is. All I have to do is simply hit OK, and that's it. What it's doing right now, it's taking a copy of it from my computer and uploading it to the cloud. And here it is on the cloud. And now at this point, I can invite my peeps to join me on navigating and reviewing this document together. And it's really easy. I can copy the session link right over here and paste that into Outlook, or I can go over here and have Bluebeam go through and say Misty at Graitec.com and check and include, and this will send this over to Misty. Now, what's nice about that is let's say I went through and added someone here, and I'm just going to add Misty at Graitec, and I don't think this is her full email address, and I'll send that to her. I don't think this is going to get to her, but nonetheless, I'm going to say invite participant, and Bluebeam has sent that. What's nice about this is I'm no longer dependent on Outlook in case it's buggy or something. And more importantly, in Bluebeam, I can see who's joined and who hasn't. If I just send an email, then I got to go hunt in Outlook. I'm like, did I send that to Misty? Did I invite my friends that I'm working with? My collaborators? I don't know. I have to go into Outlook. Here, if I send it through the Studio session portal, I can see who's joined and who hasn't. And then I can go over here and send a reminder if I want, and she'll receive an email notification. Now, what's nice about sessions is everyone can collaborate this PDF at the same time. So if Misty were to join me theoretically on this, she could open up this document anywhere on her mobile device, on her iPhone, her iPad, on a PC, and be able to mark this up anywhere on the go. And then as she goes through and makes her markups, it would show her name here under author. And all she has to do is just make a markup. If I was Misty, make my markup, and that's it. And as soon as I hit enter, it's now saved, and everyone on my team sees those markups at the same time. And as an extra bonus, if you wanted to alert an attendee, basically, let's say I said, hey, Misty, take a look at this. This needs your attention. I can select it, right click, and if there was an additional attendee over here, right over here would be an option to alert her, and she'll receive an email notification saying there's an issue you need to take a look at, and Rick has notified you. So you can cover your bases, as well as here on her screen under notifications, if she has review on, it'll start flashing like a disco ball. Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to tease you all and introduce you to the 3 most common used tools in Bluebeam so that you can get up and running quickly. And that is measuring areas, linear calculations, creating markups, customizing them into your tool chest, and then collaborating with others. If you like what you see and you would like to find out more, Misty, how do they find out more, and how can I get a slower version of me teaching them how to learn Bluebeam?
Yes, so we got you covered. So you will get a recording within 24 hours of this session. You can slow it down. You can rewatch it. That's what I have to do. So I put my email in the chat if you guys don't receive that for any reason, or you think of any questions after the webinar, you want more information, you can reach out to me directly at webinars@graitec.com. So we can definitely help you out with that. And if you have any questions for Rick, you can throw those in the chat and we could read those out to him as well.
Yeah. While we're waiting for some questions, I want to share with you some power tips that you might not know about. So, for those of you who are seasoned users of Bluebeam, you might not know this. Here under Bluebeam, if you go over here to the text box, and let's say I drag a huge text box and I add my text that says, "This is my text box," right? And I'm going to go over here and give it a little bit of some thickness for my box, and you'll notice, oops, over here is that text box. Oh, let me try it again. A text box, drag. This is a text box. And I'm going to go ahead and give it some thickness. So a lot of times customers will say, hey, I clicked and dragged this area. I have this huge text box. How do I go through and make that box right up against the text? Ready for it? Over here, hold down Alt and Z. Do you see that? Alt and Z. Booyah. Another cool thing, if you have multiple drawings open, I'm going to go over here and open up this drawing. This is my review for interns. If you wanted to go through and do a split screen, this is a bad drawing, but maybe I wanted to have two of these drawings open side by side, right click on the tab and split vertically. And now you can have your drawing in one and your other PDF on the other side. Pretty darn cool. Okay. And then all I have to do is basically over here, unsplit it, and now it's back to being one. So very, very cool. So that was Alt and Z. That's just a quick tip. Another one is if you wanted this to be really, really large, a lot of people go, Rick, why is it so small? The text is actually, if you take a look at it, it's 12-point font, which is the same as 332nd in architectural speaking. Set of construction drawings are always 332nd high or 12-point font, and that's why it comes in like here at that size. But if you say, Rick, I need this over here to be huge, and it's for review only, right? And I need this to be big, just huge. Well, one of the things that we can do is we can select it and ready, auto size, boom. And over here, I'll change the style to bold and center and ready. Let's fill it with a color. And there we go. And boom, right there. Ta-da, for review. Any questions so far, Misty?
No questions yet. I do want to put this on the screen because this is something that people asked for a while, and we finally made it happen. So our Bluebeam crew is one of our most loyal crews out there. And a lot of people are like, Misty, I need to register to all the Bluebeam webinars, but I don't want to do this every time. So we made that happen for you. You can click this button here, register one time, and we will register you for all of the Bluebeam webinars. So you'll never miss anything. We've got you covered. So I'm going to leave that on the screen for you.
Yeah.
And give us some quick tips. Hey, Rick, if somebody is interested in, I don't know, setting up a learning session with you, a training session, if they have one person or a group of people, how do they do that?
So easy. Just reach out to your salesperson. If you don't know who your salesperson is, you can just email us at info@graitec.com. That's info@graitec.com. Say, hey, I'd like to learn more about Bluebeam. You can set up a time to meet with me. I'd be happy to understand your workflow and talk about some customized training.
Awesome. And I also have a poll question for y'all. So if you don't want to email and you're like, Misty, just let me know who I need to reach out to, you can just answer yes on that question that you are interested in learning more and you are interested in training. We'll send you all the great info for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I got so many things. And first of all, to my loyal followers, thank you so much for joining. And the easy registration that Misty just put up there is phenomenal. Sign up once, and then you'll receive email notifications for every webinar that I do. And they're all recorded, by the way. I think I have over 105 or 111, something like that, of all my pre-recorded webinars. So you can go back and rewatch any of the the best of the best. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And again, thank you all for your time.
Oh, we do got a question, so let's grab this real quick. Greg asked, under set scale / custom, I only have inches, centimeters, and millimeters. How do I get a setting for feet?
So when you go over to set scale, the presets over here are basically, they're hardwired in. So up at the very top, it's 1 inch equals a foot. That's kind of like the industry standard. So, if you look at your scale over here, it's always 1/8 of an inch or something equals something. My recommendation is I never use any of the presets because I don't know who printed this particular drawing. So if we take a look at any of the drawings over here, for example, here is a site plan, right? And it says it's printed out 1:40, but is it really printed out 1:40? If you've ever worked in AutoCAD or Revit, you know that you can zoom to fit, scale to fit so easily. And I've done it before accidentally at 3 a.m. when I'm just trying to get the job done. So typically what I'll do is, let's say something like this site plan, I'll look for a dimension, and here's a dimension, or I'll use a parking space, right? They're usually 12 feet or 12 by 18. But in this case, I have a dimensioned area. So over here, I'll go to Tools, Measure, Set Scale. And to your point, don't use preset. Always use custom. That way you know it's calibrated. I'll click Calibrate, pick 2 points, and I'll pick from here to here. And it is 276 feet, space 10, space ½ inches. And precision full inch, and apply scale. And then I'll just check it by doing a measurement. I hope that answered your question. There it is. And because I rounded, it's going 276.11. I don't really I don't worry about like what the presets are, because I don't know who printed this out. And if you're doing profiles, by the way, on site design, there's a difference between X and Y, or this is X and Y. You can do individual scale. So over here, you can have a separate X and a Y scale. So that's kind of neat. So over here, we would do a separate X and Y anytime that you're doing profiles for civil engineering.
All right. Well, that is all the questions. I know we're a little over the 45-minute mark. We try to keep that down for y'all, but I want to thank you all for joining us today. I hope it was meaningful, impactful to you and your businesses. You will get a recording of this. And Rick, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you all on future webinars. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.